"You never told me that," Malcolm exclaimed. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I couldn't bring myself to," replied Anita. Now, on that day, Anita left. She took everything belonging to her, excluding the pictures of them together. Malcolm was broken. He was a shell of a man. Now, they'd been together for 8 years, and even now, Malcolm was still trying to come to terms with what had happened. Now, Anita had always been a flirt. He knew that, but he loved her. And when you love someone, you look past shit like that and see the person for all the positive attributes that brought you together in the first place. Anita had been unfaithful, but not in the ordinary way. She knew that Malcolm struggled to be emotional. This led to awkward bedroom moments where the nicest thing in the world would just be to hold each other, but Malcolm couldn't. Now, Anita was a dinner lady at the local primary school. She didn't need to work as Malcolm's London job secured them both, but she got bored. Now, Malcolm would often get home late after tube changes and bus cancellations, so he'd sit alone in front of the TV and eat his reheated dinner that Anita would have cooked for him earlier. He would go to bed crawling in beside his already asleep wife, then be up again, usually long before her. Weekends were their time together, but after nearly 8 years of 2 days a week, things were difficult. Now, it wasn't the sex Anita was missing. They still had that. No, it was the intimacy and the compassion. To feel her partner's body tight against hers, making her feel safe, wanted, and loved. She just wanted her husband to hold her and never let go. But he couldn't. Childhood trauma is a horrendous thing, and nowadays is much more openly discussed. Malcolm was abused as a child by his single mother for years, and he couldn't destroy the association between that and an embrace. The first time he told Anita this, she broke down in tears. But she fought with herself to stop being so selfish. Her life had formulated a routine. Get up alone, go to work, be home in time for loose women, watch movies alone, eat dinner alone, and go to bed alone. She fought with her conscience for a long time before finally placing an advertisement online. Now, this advert allowed people who felt just as alone as she did to sit and hold each other for hours at a time. Anita didn't see this as sordid. She was offering exactly what she was getting in return. A basic human right is to have that sense and feeling of devotion. Now, she would visit these people, men and women, and they'd often talk about their own situations. A son contacted her for his elderly father who was struggling with the loss of his wife. He wept for hours alongside her. Anita went several times to see him, learning much about his life, his time in the army, how proud he was to have such a beautiful wife, how they met at a dance and how their eyes met across the room, how they knew from that moment they would spend their lives together. And she did. Now he had to try and adjust to life alone. Anita was touched by his situation and, feeling like a widower herself, took him to a steam fair. Now, he had told her that he'd take his wife to such events and she'd comment on how childish he became. Tears of happiness touched each delicate wrinkle in his once sculptured face. It pleased Anita to see tears of happiness. She hadn't known these for years. Now, shortly after their fourth meeting, the gentleman passed peacefully in his sleep. Anita had always told herself not to get too involved, but a man who reminded herself of her father, well, she couldn't help it. The gentleman's son contacted her for assistance with the funeral. Amongst his belongings, Anita found a thank you card the gentleman never got to deliver. Thank you for your hours of companionship. You really are a beautiful and genuine soul who deserves as much happiness as you have brought me. Tell your husband. He should know how much joy you bring to other people's lives, though lacking your own. It may help. Anita knew he was right, but tackling it incorrectly would mean her losing everything. Now, she considered every feasible option and maintained that he had a right to know, but his damaged childhood cannot and should not damage the rest of her life. She waited till he came home one night, then joined him downstairs as he ate his reheated lasagna. She told him everything, blurting it all out in one elongated soliloquy, from her friendship with the elderly man to her reasons for doing it in the first place. I feel worthless around you, she finally admitted. Well, you never told me that, Malcolm exclaimed. I'm sorry. I am so sorry, but I couldn't bring myself to. Anita felt as though she betrayed him in some way. Malcolm stormed out. He only ever smoked when he was upset, or just upset, really. But in a moment of madness, Anita went and packed her things. She may have told him, but just because you tell someone how you feel, it doesn't obligate them to understand or change. She didn't hate her husband. She didn't. She just couldn't settle for less than she believed she deserved. She was thinking about collecting up their pictures, but no, she decided against it. Malcolm was a good man and deserved to remember their good times together. She found Malcolm on the sofa, but she'd never known a man to cry so much. What can he do? He asked. It's nothing you've done, it's what you can't. It's not your fault. In a last-ditch attempt, she kissed him on the forehead. Malcolm recoiled, a final answer to her ultimate question. She wiped a tear from his cheek and left, leaving Malcolm alone. Malcolm woke up alone, went to work, came home alone, ate his dinner alone, and went to bed alone. Never had the pair been closer.